your money, your taxes, your truck, and your road to success in the trucking industry. This is Trucking Business and Beyond, the show that puts the money where it belongs, back in your pocket.
Good morning, you beautiful bunch of fuckers, and welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Tuesday, July 23rd. We are here live. It's time for the Power Hour. I've got Bruce and Eric and Leroy with me from Pittsburgh Power. We'll take your calls and answer your questions about everything maintenance, engines, performance, fuel mileage, modifications, upgrades, troubleshooting, emissions, electronics, you name it, we'll talk about it. All you have to do is pick up the phone and join us. Hit that call now button if you are listening on the Let's Truck app. If you're watching on the live stream, you can pick up the phone and dial 855-950-3835. Yesterday I was talking with somebody and they said, you keep saying if you're listening on the app and you never tell us what app. And I thought, you're right. I don't. But I assume if you're listening on the app, you already have the app and you can hit the call now button. But if you're not listening on the app, it's Let's Truck. So go to your app store, search for Let's Truck. It's the AudioRoad network app. We have several apps under Let's Truck. So look for the AudioRoad network app. Calls are already starting to come in. We're going to hear from the team from Pittsburgh Power. Then we'll get to your calls and questions. Bruce, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. It's a beautiful day, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Before I forget, I want to remind you that I am off all next week, so no show next week.
No show. You coming to Maryland to go out in the bay with me?
I am not going anywhere. I want to be right here with nothing to do except spend the rest of my time outside while I'm on vacation. Whether it's hike, I haven't put my foil in the water yet this year. So I got to get
You haven't?
No, I got to get some foil time in. I've got to get some garden time in. I want to get out and do some hiking. Although, starting early here this year, we've got fires everywhere already.
Yeah, well.
We're probably tracking about 6 fires in Oregon. 2 of them are pretty close to us. So, seems early this year.
Well, they say one major forest fire pollutes more than all the semi trucks in 1 year.
Yeah, and we have a lot of them now. And we could get into the weeds on this literally because it's been poor forest management for years that causes a lot of these to be so big. But we won't go there. I just wanted to make sure everybody knows we're not doing a show next week. What's on your mind this morning?
All right. Okay. Years ago, on big cams, people would come in and we would set valves and injectors once a year. Aluminum rocker boxes. You had camshafts down low on the side of the block and push rods. So you had little things that wear in the rocker boxes. But I had a little trick, kind of a confession right now. I was really good at setting valves and injectors because I learned in the racing industry. And the first one I learned, the engine would be running and you would be setting, it was a 30-30 camshaft, and you would set them while they were running. And then we learned how to set them with the engine shut off, which was much better. But what I would do with big cams, everybody said, Bruce, every time you set my valve and injectors, my truck runs a little bit better. And I had a little trickery. I would increase the horsepower by between 10 and 20 horsepower. Now, if it was 20 horsepower, that's 60 foot-pound of torque, and you could feel that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I didn't change the horsepower. I just changed the rate of how you feel the horsepower. And that was a hit. And I've never told anybody
Yeah.
that little secret until now.
There's nobody else around anymore that knows enough about big hams that it won't matter anyway.
So just think, if a guy came in 3 years in a row and each time he got 20 horsepower, he had another 60 horsepower or 180 foot-pound of torque just
Yeah.
from me setting the overhead.
Wow.
So
Now,
anyway,
we
yeah.
just hope that they at least get it right or close to right. Right. I mean, that's all we can hope
Oh,
for
boy.
these days.
Customer service in our country, I've called 2 companies recently. One is Cummins in Baltimore, their own in division. It's been 3 days. I've been waiting for a phone call. Another place is a boat supply place, and I've left that message 3 days ago. I've left them 2 messages, no call back. You know, I want to buy a part from them, but if they won't answer their phone or at least call me back, how can I buy the part?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to drive 14 miles to their place if they don't have the part.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, this is just horrible that companies can't answer their phone. You know what else? When I call a company, I don't want to hear we're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, we do this, we do that. You know, it's a minute and a half before I get touch 1 for English.
Yeah.
You know, it's just very irritating.
Yeah. Yeah, you know,
If
Bruce,
Pittsburgh Power, so long as I'm alive, there'll be a lady answering the phone.
I find myself these days, and I'll catch myself once in a while, like really strongly recommending a company or a service or somebody that's come out to do something. And I stop and I think, you know what? All they did was just the basics. They showed up. They did what they said they were going to do. They probably fixed the problem or got the project done. And I'm running around telling everybody like they're the greatest company in the world. And I stop and realize all they did was what they were supposed to do. But anymore, that excites me. I mean, it's so hard to find just that.
All right. So we have another company. I don't know the name of the company. It's somewhere east of Buffalo, trucking company that's fallen to Bidenomics, and he's shut his doors. So one of his owner operators is selling a 05 ISX T660. We've done a lot of work on it, 86-inch bunk, 264 gears, 13 speed, tall 22.5 rubber. The truck has 2.2 million miles on it. It is not the original engine. The engine was just rebuilt by Boyles International in Jamestown, New York. In fact, that's where the truck is sitting. It needs a little TLC. I said, out of a 0 to 1 to 10, what is it? He said a 5. He said it needs new seats and it needs a power divider. There's a 500,000 mile on the last rebuild. It does have our tune in it and several of our parts, and it's producing about 650 horsepower. So if anybody's interested, his name is Bob Wolf, 716-640-6225. I'll make sure that Kathy has that phone number because I'm not going to be available. I'm only good for 2 hours today, and then I have some appointments. I'll make sure Kathy has that phone number. Again, Bob Wolf.
All right.
And the price is negotiable. So the price, there we go. That's what I have for today, Kevin.
All right. Well, we will find out what Eric and Leroy are thinking about this morning. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Kevin.
What's new and exciting in your world today?
We got some new stuff in here today. Came in yesterday and today. We have a 15 Peterbilt with an ISX. We're doing a bunch of stuff to it. MD alignment, dyno with manometer, new crankshaft and dampener and balancing ring, fleet air filter, DPF cleaning, the diesel force cleaning, the Hawkeye report, ACM tune. Just like a general maintenance type thing. Make sure the truck's good. I have a 01 Peterbilt 379 in here with a head gasket, We got a 13 Pete in here for a tune. We have let me see here. We have an O2 motor coach. This is a Monaco, if I'm not mistaken. Good friend of mine that I race with brought it in. It wasn't making any real big power. We put a tune in it. We've been looking at stuff, and I said, "Do you have any boost leaks?" No, they're all good. You sure? Well, not 100%. Okay. So we bring it in here. We look at it, boost test it. There were some loose clamps, but the charge air cooler was just, it wouldn't hold any pressure at all. Like by the time you disconnected the air line, the air was bled out. Like the gauge wouldn't even hold. So we pulled it out, called the manufacturer of the coach, and the charge air cooler, this is a side draft. A lot of the coaches have the radiators on the side.
Yeah.
Just take a guess what you think they want for a new charge air cooler.
I'm trying to remember.
You should know you had to buy one.
I know. I think I paid like $3,200 for mine.
You can more than double that.
You're kidding me.
No. The first one we looked up was over $7,000 for a charge air cooler. Now, again, Mark's a good friend of mine, so I don't mind. I try to help him out as much as I can. I try to help everybody out, and he actually found a place. He called me Saturday at home, and he found a place, but it was still over $5,000 minus shipping. So he's going to have close to 6 in it by the time it's here and shipped.
What kind of coach did you say it was?
Monaco.
I wonder if the place in Oregon that I got mine from. So when I checked with Country Coach, I always ask them, where I should get parts, or so they sent me someplace and said they made our original charge air coolers and they make replacements. So I called them directly, and I'm thinking it was $335, somewhere around there. I'd have to go back and double check, but I will say this: the one they built me was a thing of beauty. Leroy, do you remember that? It's all aluminum. It is beautifully welded. And it's big. They're really big because they have to be, because they go on the side and they don't get enough airflow, so they just have to make them bigger. That thing was a monster. I wouldn't think they only make them for country coaches. Maybe I should get you that number and see. Yeah,
please do. I was just shocked at the cost of it. It is a big unit too. It's probably 50 some inches wide, probably 18 inches tall, and like 6 inches thick. It's a big unit.
Sounds like I should get into making charge air coolers.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. Mine was definitely different than the original. I mean, the original looked a lot like all the, standard charger coolers we've seen. The new one, like I said, it was all aluminum. It was beautiful. And honestly, when I looked at it, I thought to myself, as big as this is and as quality as this is built, I really didn't think it was that expensive. But $6,000 or $7,000, that's insane. And what's the labor going to cost to put it in? Because I know how much labor is involved. It's a lot. Well, I don't know on that one in particular, but mine was a lot of labor.
This one wasn't terribly bad. I mean, it's of course, working on any motor coach is kind of it's a feat in itself. But it's on the side. The oil cooler's below it, so you can just drop the oil cooler and then just pull the charge air cooler out. Now, hindsight, I think it might be easier if we would have dropped everything as one unit: the radiator, charge air cooler, oil cooler, AC connect. Just drop it out and then split it on the floor. But the guys back there actually split it inside the chassis and just drop the charge air cooler out separately. But it's a fairly large unit.
So when we started working on mine, and you get in there and you can't find anything, and you're right, it's the radiator, the AC condenser, it's all sandwiched together back there. Just trying to figure out where all the attachment bolts are took forever, then getting to them all. Then some we just couldn't get to. I thought we were going to have to make a couple specialty tools. And then when I called Country Coach, I said, I've got this thing almost completely disconnected, and I'm not sure how this is going to come out of here. And they said, oh, it has to come straight out the bottom, so you have to have lifts big enough to get it that high in the air. And I'm thinking, this thing weighs 40,000 pounds. They have lifts at their shop, but I don't know how I'm going to get this thing far enough off the ground. We managed to get it out. They said you couldn't. We managed to get it out without, we jacked it up a little bit as much as we could, but it was a struggle to get it out. And then the new one, like I said, it looked very custom. It was slightly bigger in some places, and I thought, we almost didn't get that one out. I don't think we're going to get this one back in. But somehow we managed. I'm not sure how, but I worked on that thing myself every night for over a week. And Leroy, you had quite a few hours into that job with me.
Yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah, it was ugly. I definitely don't want to do that again.
And then lastly, we have a 14 Freightliner Cascadian here with a DD15. We're doing a tune on it. We're installing an OPS. We're going to do a dampener on it, a DPF cleaning, diesel force cleaning, and it came in for a vibration also. So we're going to use the vibration analysis machine on the dyno. Well, Leroy's going to use it, but that hopefully will give us a better insight of what's going on with that truck too.
Got it. All right. Leroy, what's on your mind today?
Well, actually, not a whole lot. Eric kind of took some of the stuff I was going to talk about already, but
My bad.
yeah, I've been off for several days, so I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things today.
Got it.
So, a whole lot going on for me today.
All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, maybe we should get to some calls. It's looking like it. Let's go to Louisiana to get started today. Phone lines are open. Jump in and join us. Brad, good morning.
Morning. How y'all doing, guys?
Good. What can we help you
Got a
with
quick
today?
question. A friend of mine took his engine to Cummins, and they told him it was dusted. And I asked him what that means, and he said he's waiting to find out from Cummins what that means. And I figured I'd ask you guys if y'all know anything about that.
We know
I had
we know
somebody call
exactly
me.
what it means.
Yeah, well, good, because I questioned this once before. Is this like a technical term? Because I was never clear on what this means either. So, Bruce, go ahead.
No, if you did oil analysis, you'd see that the silicon level was high. The truck had a leak, or else he was in super dirty conditions. And all it takes is 30 days of going down the interstates with a leak in your air intake system to dust an engine. Dusting means it took the crosshatch off and polished the liners.
And they call it dusted.
And the crosshatch is what it's called, dusted.
Because it was dirt.
And it's very evident as soon as you pull the head off and you look in. Sometimes you can even see the dirt in the intake ports. But anybody see the video on YouTube? Not YouTube. Facebook. A guy pulled his air filter out. It was so dirty, and he's bouncing off his tires and just clouds of dust. And then there was another one. A guy lit a firecracker, took his dirty air filter and set it over the firecracker. And you should have seen the dirt come out of that girl. But
oh, wow.
You should never let them get that bad. And that's why we tell people every spring, pull your air intake piping off, all the elbows, whether you have plastic piping, whether you have aluminum piping, wash it, take the compressor housing off the turbo, clean it, polish it on the inside on the volute part, put it back together and spray the piping and the elbows with white lithium grease. It helps to absorb the dust. You can see where it's coming from if you do get a leak. That's the term of dusted.
All righty then. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the call. Let's go north of the border this time to Manitoba. Ron, welcome.
Morning. Got a question for Leroy.
All right.
All right.
Does Pittsburgh Power offer anything for the 24 valve Cummins?
Is it in a Dodge like Ram pickup truck, or is it in some sort of like piece of equipment or heavy duty truck?
Yeah, 02 3/4 ton. It's time for a new VP44. Got the death code on it last month. So.
Yeah, so if it's in a Dodge Ram product, then we're not going to be able to do it simply because it has a different configuration file or definition file that we don't have. There's that, and then also the fact that the communication through that is not typically through J1939. It's through like an OBD connector, and you need additional software and tooling to do that. So long story short, if it's a Dodge Ram product, then we're not able to do it.
Oh, but we can put a TST power box on it.
There you go. That would work.
I've got an Edge juice box on it. Can you make a recommendation over the air where it could get a pump?
Where you could get a pump?
Yeah.
No, do you have any leads on that, Bruce? I don't know much about the VP44 pumps.
I do not, other than, can't we get it right from Cummins?
We could go with the stock. I think this gentleman wants to go a little bit higher. Is that correct?
I plan on keeping it, so I want it to be reliable, and a little bump in power wouldn't be, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But
okay, if you're just looking for a stock replacement, we can help you with that. If you want to give me a call after the show, or Sean's parts manager here with your engine serial number, we can definitely help you out with that.
Okay.
So let me ask you a question on this 02 24 valve. Do you still have the stock turbo on it?
For now, yes, I do.
All right, because that's pretty small. I think that's a 10 square centimeter turbine housing, and I like to run a 16 square centimeter turbine housing on those.
Okay.
And if you can keep putting fuel in, and with that stock turbine housing on there, all you're doing is making more back pressure and choking the engine. You will not gain more performance.
Yeah, I see she maxes right out if I turn my box up all the way.
Yep. What's it going to on boost?
I think it pegs the needle. It's up in the high 30s or 40.
Yeah. We can supply you with a turbo that'll allow you to use that power, and you'll feel quite a difference. You'll feel the truck run more free, especially whenever if you're pulling a trailer and going up a hill. Even on the level, you'll find your turbo boost comes down. You're hardly touching the throttle, and you don't hear the engine working against itself. But right now, that's the condition you're in with that stock turbine housing.
Okay. And any suggestions for ECM repairs?
I don't have any. The only one that I know is that CV Electronics place. That's across the pond. They seem to have pretty good reviews as far as ECM repairs go. I know they do a lot of European stuff. I don't know if they're working on that ECM. I think that one's a Bosch, so you might have a chance. That's probably, again, like a Facebook message or a call over to those guys. And it's I believe it's called CV Electronics, as in Charlie Victor.
Okay. CV. I do have an issue. The factory lift pump doesn't work when the engine's running. It'll just work if you bump the starter, and it'll prime, but it doesn't run. So. But I do have an extra pump down on the frame that brings fuel up to it. So.
Yeah, some sort of lift pump or something. Yeah.
Okay, then I will look into that and add some max mileage and get this thing back on the road soon.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Thanks for now.
Hey, Bruce. I don't want to get too political, but I've got some bad news for you.
What's that?
So there's a guy that I follow on X, and his whole mission these days is to expose companies who have bought into the whole woke agenda. And then he kind
Yes.
of puts it all out there and gives people a way to contact the company and let them know whether you like it or you don't like it. And so far, he has done a really good job of exposing. Oh shoot! What's the big farm supply company that's all over the place?
Why?
Tractor Supply?
Tractor Supply. He did them about a month ago, and they changed their
What-
policies because he put so much pressure on them, and they got so much feedback from people. A couple weeks ago,
What was their policy? What was their policy?
I'm going to get to the company that he just announced today, and if you want, I mean, the policies would take me probably 5 minutes to read through this whole list. I'll give you an idea of some of them, but first, there was Tractor Supply. They changed all their policies over this. The last 2 weeks, he's been all over John Deere, of all companies. Come on.
Mhm.
Do they not know who buys their product? Now, and this one really shocks me, Harley Davidson.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he goes through a whole list. They openly support the Equality Act, which allows men into girls' bathrooms, sports, and locker rooms. They funded a pride event that featured a rage room next to drag queen story time. 1,800 employees had to do virtual training on how to become LGBTQ plus allies. They're a founding member of the Wisconsin LGBTQ plus Chamber of Commerce. It goes on and on and on and on. They bought into the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot
And
of
they make farm tractors and farm equipment.
Well, no, now we're talking about Harley Davidson.
Oh, Harley Davidson. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. I mean, it goes on. It would take me a long time to read all of this. It's bad. And the problem is, I don't care what you think about the issue. This stuff just doesn't belong in businesses. Companies should not be running their company like this. And when they do, they alienate a lot of customers. They don't seem to care anymore.
Terrible.
You know, Bud Light was the #1 beer in the country for years and years. They're number 3 now. I can't even imagine how much money that company lost over that.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I know. So, all right. We're going to get back to the calls.
I don't understand it, you know.
I don't either.
You put television on and you see drag queens. I mean, that's ridiculous. That does not have to be on television.
And you know what? On television, I can turn the channel. There's 1,000 channels now, so if they do that, I don't really care as much about that. The problem I have is when they start with the kids. That's a huge problem I have. I don't care what adults do. And you know what? If a company wants to do this, it's obviously their choice, it's their company, but I will choose to do business with somebody else. Because this is just a distraction from running the company. When you look at this list of stuff that they're doing, who the hell's running the company? If this is what you're so focused on that you've changed your whole company, well, that's a problem for me. And I'm just not going to do business with you. This isn't what you should be focused on. We just talked about how bad customer service has become. This is also the whole DEI thing, where we are telling people we are hiring based on your group, whatever it happens to be, your gender group, or you're a woman, or you're a minority, or well, look, we should hire those people. Of course we should. But we should be hiring the best person for the job, whoever that happens to be, not telling people we're going to hire from this group only. That sounds pretty racist or sexist or whatever ist word we want to put on it. It's obvious. You know, they're making a big deal right now. If you say Kamala Harris was a DEI hire, they lose their mind. But you told us she was a DEI hire. Why are you getting angry about this? You said this is how this is supposed to work now. You can go back and watch. Joe Biden was very clear he was going to choose a woman of color. He never once said, I'm going to choose the best person for the job. He just kept saying, I'm going to choose a woman of color. And he did. That is a DEI hire. That's the definition of it. So why are they angry when we point it out?
Let me ask you a question. When I look at Kamala, she looks as white as just about anybody else. She's whiter than a lot of Spanish people. How far back is it that she had some African-American blood in her?
Well, there are many, many headlines where they announced her as the first Indian American woman to hold this position. The headlines are all there. Well, which one is she? Now she's black. She used to be Indian American. Well, I guess you can be whatever you want to now. You just identify as whatever you want. That's how that works.
Yeah, I don't think she identifies with the African American group. I mean, she's got a white husband. She looks as white as most of us do. And
yeah, she's
anyway,
Jamaican and Indian. But the whole DEI thing, you told us that's what she is, and now when we point it out, you call that an insult. Well, wait a minute. You told us that's what she was. She was a DEI hire. Hired her because of the group she came from.
You know, she might be a nice person, be a good neighbor, because, you know, she likes to laugh and she'd be a lot of fun to hang around with, you know, maybe at a party or something or a picnic. But really, with no business experience, I'm tired of all politicians, Republicans and Democrats, that have never ran a business, been involved in a business, even if they were commissioned salespeople, because as a commissioned salesperson or an owner operator, you are self-employed.
Yeah.
And nobody understands the plight of the self-employed other than people that are self-employed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
And that's what we need for a president. We don't need people with all kind of degrees and law degrees and everything else. I mean, we need salt of the earth people that have built a business.
I agree.
And that's why I like Trump. Trump has built a lot of businesses. He's been successful with businesses. Yeah, he had some bankruptcies. Hey, I was close 8 times in my life to declaring bankruptcy. 8 times. I counted one day how many. Even when I worked for other companies, and, you know, you'd have a bad accident. And years ago, we just had to have insurance on the other person, and I drove Corvettes, and I demolished a couple of them, had to rebuild them. And, you know, it takes you broke.
I was
you
close
just keep
twice.
Fighting. You get it.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was really close to bankruptcy twice. So I can't imagine 8 times. I mean, because it is really, really stressful, and it goes on for a long time. It's not something you get out of quickly. It took me about 4 years to get out of one of them. It was so bad. And it wasn't a bankruptcy.
I got out of
did everything I had to.
The worst
not
one
to
was the
file it.
recession in '92. We got out of that in just under 2 years.
Yeah, mine.
We got out of that.
I don't even think mine coincided with any kind of a recession. Mine was just stupid decisions and getting in so deep that I couldn't get back out. And by the time I figured it out, I was in so much debt, it took me just over 4 years to pay it all off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what we did in '92, because so many small trucking companies and so many owner operators just went belly up, and, you know, we had accounts receivable.
Yeah.
And nobody could pay. If a man's belly up, you can sue him all you want.
It's not
You're
going
to get a judgment. And,
right.
you know, what good's a judgment? You can't eat it. You can't sleep with it. You can't do anything with it. And if he has no money, he has no money. So I begged all of our suppliers, put me on COD. I'll try to buy $2,000 to $3,000 worth of parts at a time and add $500 to that COD amount and put it towards what I owe you.
Yeah.
And every company but one, fuel injection in Allentown, Pennsylvania, would not do it. And I don't even think they're in business today. But everybody worked with me, and we got everybody paid off. It was 18 to 20 months. We had everyone paid off. I didn't take a dime out of the business, and fortunately, my wife was a school teacher, and I mean, it was tough. But
Yeah, it is.
in 1994, things turned around, and we were on our way again. And then 2000 hit. That wasn't as bad. 2008 didn't affect us. But boy, 92 and 83, those were brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. By the time '08 happened, I was already kind of at the bottom anyway for a lot of reasons, and I was restarting. And that's really '07 was when we started Let's Truck. We started right into the bottom of it, which I talk about all the time. I think it's a great place to start a business. If you can survive the bottom when you're starting up, the rest of it should be pretty easy. So, like I said, I was already at the bottom business-wise for a bunch of other reasons. So, but I couldn't blame it on the recession. It was just, again, that was my second time. The first time was early to mid 90s, but it really wasn't the economy. It was really just bad decisions again. So, like I said, if you make enough mistakes, you learn a lot. You just have to hope you don't make a big enough mistake that it puts you out completely.
Back when you had your body shop, you had your gym, did you always have cash flowing, or did you have some times you were just stone broke?
You know, here's the thing for that, Bruce. I started painting cars when I was 16. So I was living at home. And if you think about this, this would have been the 70s, mid to late 70s. I would have been 16 in 79, I guess. I was making, I could make like $400 or $500 a week painting a car. And I was living at home and I was 16. I was on top of the world. That was a lot of money back then. And I could work whenever I wanted. I'd get up at, 4 in the morning and work on it for a while if I want. And then I took the cash from that, and that's how I started the gym. But even then, I built all of our equipment. I got the school to let me use the metal shop, and I built all our weight racks, all our benches, our squat racks. We built everything by hand, and we started that business cheap, and I was still living at home. I mean, I went from owning the body shop and the gym to I went into the military. And people thought, back then, you remember what early 80s were like. There were no jobs. You could fill out 30 applications for a minimum wage job and not get a single call back. It was so bad in our area. The Rust Belt was really hit hard. And I gave up 2 businesses to go to the military. People thought I was nuts. But I never struggled with those because I was living at home. I had so much money back then, it was crazy for somebody that young.
Yeah. Well, in 1975, when I got married, I walked down the aisle. I had $5 to my name.
Yeah, that's a tough start. And look at you now.
And then, we have bridal dances where everybody dances with the bride.
Yeah.
And you put $1 in the hat. I made my friends dance twice. I left for my honeymoon. We were going to Cape Cod in the '69 Corvette that I had just finished a week prior because I had fallen asleep on the turnpike and demolished that car and got engaged while I was rebuilding it. And I finished it a week before, drove it to Cape Cod, and the car ran flawlessly. It certainly wasn't my first rebuild from frame up on a Corvette. And I left for Cape Cod with $488. Man, I was sailing.
Yeah.
What was gasoline in 1975? I mean,
60. Oh, yeah, 40 cents maybe.
No, I think it was over 50 cents.
Was it? Okay. Yeah.
Well, anyway.
All right. We're going to get back. Let me get back to some phone calls here. Let's go to Colorado. Sandro, welcome to the program.
Hey, how are you?
Good. What can we help you with today?
Okay, so I'm planning to buy a new truck. Not new, but used truck.
Okay.
And I need some advice. I had some horrible experience with Ryder. I bought a few
So-
trucks from them
so
in the
stop right
past
there.
4 or 5 months.
Stop right there. Before
Yeah.
we go on, we just had this conversation again either last week or it might have even been yesterday. I forget when I talk about stuff anymore. I have a lot of experience with rental trucks, both Penske and Ryder.
Right.
The whole time I had my contract
Okay.
at FedEx, I had to cover my runs. I mean, if you didn't cover your runs, you lost points and you didn't want to do that. So I had accounts with both companies because if I needed a truck in a hurry, I had to get a truck. If I had to put my trucks in just for service, I had to get a truck. So I
Right.
rented a lot of trucks. And I was the fuel mileage guy. And I would get these new trucks because rentals are always fairly new. And I was running my trucks to
Right.
1.3 million. So, the drivers would be excited. Oh, I get a new truck today. They hated them. Every time they used to complain about the rental trucks. And I'd be like, what's wrong with these things? What do they do to make their trucks so bad? And then I would look at the fuel mileage and I'd look at their specs and I'd say, they're lousy specs, but the fuel mileage just shouldn't be this poor. But it always seemed to be. And half the time I couldn't even explain it, but I decided there's no way I'm ever buying a truck from one of these companies.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what my experience. I thought they say they have the maintenance history.
Right.
The truck's been taken care of.
Yeah.
I mean, I have tons of pages of history, but doesn't tell me much. So, I just decided, I'm going to buy a used truck. I'm going to use for 6 months to a year. I'm a local car hauler here in Denver, so
Okay.
I don't put a lot of miles on a truck. And I said, well, if I can get back on track, buy a truck, use for 6 months to a year without a major breakdown like an engine or transmission, like something big, I'll be set next year.
Right.
Well, first truck, I put a deposit. They never delivered, and they never told me what happened.
Did they keep your
So
deposit?
it became an emergency. Huh?
Did they keep your deposit?
Oh, no, yeah. They kept my deposit, said, well, you want a deposit back or you want a truck? I said, well, I need a truck. So they have another truck on the lot. It was a 2016 with that Cummins engine, 10-speed automatic transmission, 310 axle ratio.
Wait, say that again.
It was in
Did you
good
say
shape.
310?
I think it was 3.2, yeah, 3.10, yeah.
Well, that's an odd
I
one.
believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would expect
maybe
it to be
I'm
a
wrong on that.
308. You sure it's not a 308?
Maybe I don't remember. I'm trying to forget about that truck.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's
I'm
not
really
talk
trying
about
to
that one.
forget. Okay, so I'm getting actually. I run 500 miles, and I realized I had a check engine light on, and I saw the coolant was
Wait
low.
a minute. What truck are we
So
talking
if
about
it's
now?
not a, we're buying a 2019 Freightliner with a DD13, 450 horsepower, with a DT12 transmission.
Which one? Do you know?
Well,
if
this
it-
is what I'm trying to buy.
Okay. Well, I know. I'm trying to get to the specs. What rear end ratio and what is the final ratio on this transmission?
Well, I think the rear end ratio is 2.79. That's what they told me. I don't know
No, that could
a lot
be.
more
That
information
could be.
yet. Yeah,
How many miles are on this
yeah.
thing?
So 430,
How much do they want?
49.
Okay. It doesn't sound horrible on the surface. I like the DD13. That's really a good option for you in that local operation. Gear ratio seems okay. I'd like to know more about which transmission that is. Maybe a single overdrive might be the most common in that setup. It's not a lot of miles. Price isn't horrible. This would be a truck that I would consider. I mean, I'd want a lot more information on it.
Okay.
But I would consider it based on the
Right.
specs. Now, I'm also assuming you said a car hauler. You're not carrying anything on the tractor, right? Just a trailer.
Just a trailer, yes.
Okay.
I have a 7-car trailer. So it's going to be a regular tractor with a car hauler trailer.
Got it. Okay.
Um,
So pretty light
so
most of the time.
yeah, it's not not super heavy. And yeah, my first question is 279. Of course, we have mountains in Denver, around here. So it's a good axle ratio.
So when
Second
you,
question.
well, let's stick with the first one. And I want to help you with your thought process here. I know what you're thinking, that 2.79 sounds like a really high gear ratio compared to what we were used to for years. Now this is what we should be speccing almost all trucks today, in the 2s somewhere.
Okay.
And we've got a couple trucks that are,
Okay.
we're actually getting into the high 1s on some of these trucks that we're experimenting with that. So this is not uncommon, but your concern, we have a lot of hills around here. I don't care if you have the biggest hill in the country.
Right.
That imagine a 190 gear ratio. It'll still go up the hill just as good as any other truck. And here's why. That is one gear in the system. We're giving one gear ratio. You have 12 gears in the transmission. We can create any ratio we want. The ratio really becomes the transmission gear you're in at the time, the differential gear, and the tire size even has a small impact on it. But all of these trucks, whether we say it's got a 410 rear end or a 190 rear end, they're all going to go up the hills just fine.
Okay.
We're just going to put them in different gears in the transmission.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah,
so
it's
never think
you probably already know.
And this is
I have the old thought about the gear ratio.
This is a common misconception. People think, "Oh my God, that truck's never going to go up a hill with those rear end gears." Well, of course it's going to.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
yeah. That's a lot of people think that, and it is completely false. Has nothing to do with anything.
Okay. So my question about the emission, I know it's a DT12. So there's two options that we send, a single. What you said about it?
I can't even keep track of how many options there are on some of these transmissions anymore. We have a model of a transmission, DT12, but there are different versions of these transmissions, and I can't even keep them straight anymore. So what I normally, if I were working with you in the coaching program and we were seriously considering this truck, we would get the model number of the transmission itself, the model number, so that we could look it up and we could tell you what every gear ratio, all 12 plus reverse are. So what is the low ratio?
Okay.
Not that it's going to matter much for you. I mean, the low ratio for you is not going to be a big deal because you're not pulling anything heavy, and the 279s are going to be fine.
Okay.
Now what we want to know, what are the top 2 gears? Do we have, what's direct? What is our overdrive gear? Those kind of things. Like I said, this could turn out to be a really good setup for you.
Okay, understood. All right, so I think my last question is, what should I do? I didn't look at the truck. The truck is located in Kansas, not too far from me. But I always hear in your program about, doing oil sample and, a private inspection on a truck. So what should I do from now on?
So let me go through my process.
If I'm going to consider this truck.
Right now, the first thing we can do will take about 10 minutes if you're in front of a computer. You would get the VIN number.
Yeah, I'm in front of the computer.
Okay, you would get the VIN number.
I got that.
You would go to the website rigdig.com.
Right, okay.
Rigdig.com. Put it, you're going to have to pay it. I don't know, it's probably like $30 or $40 for a one-time number. We're going to put the VIN number
39
in.
or something.
Yeah, we're going to put the VIN number in, and it's going to give us a lot of history on this truck. You're familiar with Carfax with cars, right?
Yes, yes.
Rig
Yeah,
dig.
I did a rig dig before because I heard
Okay.
in your program on other
Good.
trucks. Yeah.
Good. So you know what rig dig is. So now here's the thing: in every one of these steps, we're going to do rig dig. If it passes rig dig, we're going to call them, and we want a full ECM report. We want them to pull a full ECM report, and they can send that to you on email. If it passes
Right.
that, we'd like to get an oil sample, but my guess is they've already changed the oil on this truck.
Now I asked them, and I was like, I heard from you last week that if you service the truck, I don't want it. And
Correct.
I told them last week, if you service the truck,
Perfect.
forget about it.
Perfect.
You know, don't service the truck.
So now then the
Yeah.
next step would be an oil sample.
So
If it passes all of
Oil
these
sample.
things, and depending on how well it passes, and this is pretty low miles in a 2019, we may be able to get away without the physical inspection. That honestly, the physical inspection is the least important. Usually, if we know that a truck is just kind of sketchy, we're going to skip it anyway. If it passes all these other things, the odds of it having some sort of major problem that we're going to find on an inspection, I would probably do the physical inspection, but it's if you're going to skip anything, that might be the one you could skip, or you could go do it yourself. You might not have to hire somebody to do that part. Here's what we're looking for, though. This is the most important part about all of these inspections. We are looking hard to find a reason not to buy this truck. You hear the difference there, right? Most people are looking at trucks because they want to buy it. Well, I want this one. It's blue, and that's my favorite color. Well, I want this one because it's got that sleeper setup that I really love, and on and on and on. I can find 10 reasons to buy any truck. But what I really want to work hard to find is that one reason I shouldn't buy it. And as soon as we find that reason, you don't make excuses. You just say, I found a reason not to buy this truck, and I'm going to move on. And think about this, if we work that hard trying to find a reason not to buy it and we can't find a reason, then that's the right truck.
Okay. Understood. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. And one more thing that I did, and I'm not sure if I heard that from you, from Larry and Chris at Blue Ribbon. I call Freightliner, give them the VIN number, and get all the specs that I need.
Yes.
Is that something that you do as well?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, that's great information. Yeah, please, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have one other question besides this truck. I use max mileage. I have a dually. Right now I have a small trailer and a dually. And I use max mileage and Flashpoint. And what I noticed after I start using max mileage on my Ram 3500 is that my engine temperature it's higher than before. I'm not sure if it's just because of summer or, it used to run anywhere between 186 to 195, and now it runs anywhere between 200 to 217. It's not a lot more, but it is normal when you use max mileage. Do you know anything about it?
I don't. That doesn't seem right to me. I mean, max mileage might increase combustion temperatures a little bit because we're burning more fuel more completely. There could be a raise in temperature, but the cooling system should be able to handle that. We shouldn't really see it.
Yeah, and keep in mind, whenever exhaust temperatures keep up in the higher temperature range, they move faster. So that was the whole reasoning why we use like the turbo blankets and the ceramic coating on the exhaust manifolds and the heat wrap on the downpipe that was acting as insulating. And anytime you keep the exhaust gases hotter, they move faster. So there's something else going on with your truck. The Flashpoint and the catalyst are not going to raise your coolant temperatures that much. There's something else going on.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's why it's not overheating or nothing, but it's running a little hotter than normal lately. So yeah, I was concerned about that.
What year is your pickup?
21. It's only had like 83,000 miles on it.
Okay. Yeah, you can shoot the top and the bottom of your radiator too, just to make sure that it's doing its job. Typically on like a Class 8 truck, we want to see a 15-degree decrease in temperature between the top and the bottom. So I would shoot it and make sure that you're somewhere in that range, and that'll tell you if your radiator still has its thermal efficiency or not.
Understood. Okay, I'll try that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yep. All right. Thanks for the call. Let's head off this time to Bruce. This is a call for you. It's Shauna in South Dakota. Shauna, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
Chasing my tail. I got a cattle pot in the shop right now. Needed bushings and shocks and alignment. And you just love having a cattle pod. I don't care if they wash it, you still smell it. And so I'm keeping my office door nice and closed, and I've had to run parts. I didn't think I was going to be able to call in, but I got back, and we just will keep the office door closed. And I got some both not blastable that I'll be spraying all over this place to get rid of that. So
hey, let me help you out.
But I wanted to call.
Let me. I can't help myself when I know somebody's going through this. So stop all the sprays and that stuff. That stuff's toxic. Get yourself, and they're really inexpensive. Get yourself a little mister. There's another word for them. I'm trying to diffuser. Get yourself a little diffuser and use all essential oils for that. Works better, smells better, and it's not toxic. That's just my health tip for the day.
No, I do that at home.
Good.
The both knot guy and I are pretty tight, and I like his stuff. So.
All right.
But I had a special visitor last week, and it was a miracle. I can't say how many swear words I said when he pulled up, but Scott Barone, the founder of Wheel Jam, who we had talked right before Wheel Jam, and the day that we talked on this show, he had found out he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer that had spread to his liver. And I didn't find out until after we did the MD alignment show the week before Wheel Jam, or 2 weeks before. That afternoon he called and told me, and I don't know how he made it through all those shows promoting the Wheel Jam truck show, but he did. And he had gone to doctors in Sioux Falls and ended up going to the Mayo Clinic for second opinion. They said they were going to treat it the same as Sanford was. And so he said, well, I'm going back to South Dakota because that's where I'm from, and we'll do stuff there. On the way from Rochester, he made it to Jackson, Minnesota, ended up suffering a brain bleed. They airlifted him to Sioux Falls. That night, he had a stroke on top of it, and he was in ICU. They put him in hospice. The last time I saw him, he was sitting up at least, but it wasn't good. He couldn't talk. He couldn't do a lot of things. And he not only made it out of hospice, I mean, he's got a long road ahead of him with the cancer. That's not treated yet. But the fact that he came to the shop, and we were redoing a fire truck. We put new rails on this truck, and he had to come in, and he had his walker, but God, he was moving fast, going to check out the truck and the job that we did. And it was nothing short of a miracle. And God is good. Prayers are great. Bruce has started the LifeWave patches, which I've been using for 3 years. It's all about, using the sun and all of that just to rejuvenate stem cells is what it is. There's a big bunch of it, but they were putting that on Scott the whole time. And between the prayers, I don't know if it was the prayers or the patches, but by God, the guy is talking and walking and laughing and crying, and we were just very thankful for that. So,
wow. So he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4, which is just becoming so common that somebody doesn't have cancer and the first time they know it, it's already stage 4. There's a term for it. We're calling them turbo cancers. That never used to happen. Something has changed with that. But then he suffered a brain bleed. That has nothing to do with the cancer, right? That was a totally different issue.
Well, they don't really know. It could be from the cancer, just, spreading and doing things,
Well, wait a minute.
and then the
Well,
stroke.
hold
But
on. They would know. Have they used the word any time when they talk about cancer? Have they used the word metastasized?
I believe so.
Okay, then it could, because
But that would be more of a question for him.
that's what that word means. When we have a cancer, we say it's pancreatic cancer. The cancer is in the pancreas. Once it metastasizes, that's the word that it's now moved to other parts of the body. And that's usually
Right.
a really bad sign. So I'm wondering if they've determined whether or not that is what went wrong in the brain or not.
I believe that is, I know it had metastasized into
Okay.
his liver as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when we know that, I kind of assume, and, nobody
Right.
wants to assume anything. But the biggest thing is, he's got a fighting chance. And we've been talking with Bruce, and Robert texted me today, Bruce. He's going to call me this afternoon. So we can talk about that fenbendazole, however you say it. Bruce knows better than I do. And see what we can do. Right. Because in all the chemo, nobody thinks his body can take it. It's just poison. And, the main thing is we keep praying and keep moving forward.
So, Shauna, one of the things maybe I can help out with here, I know it's a tough situation. You mentioned the second opinion, and they wanted to do the exact same thing. Here's one of the problems with our medical system today. If you stick within the traditional medical system, you find another doctor, you find another clinic, you find another hospital, you could get 10 opinions. They're all going to be exactly the same. Nobody thinks anymore. They have a standard response to everything. Here is what you have. Here is the drug we use. Here's the procedure we use. It sounds like, and I used to give this advice all the time, you absolutely need a second opinion. Second opinions now are worthless. 10 opinions are worthless if you stick within the traditional medical community. They're not going to use these other, alternative drugs like ivermectin and some of these others. What you need to do is get a second opinion, but you've got to get into the functional medicine world where they believe in these other drugs and they're not just, told what to do by big pharma, which is what our medical system has become. So if he's really looking for a true second opinion and you're looking for drugs like fenbendazole, you've got to go into the functional medicine world.
And that's one thing that Tracy has been trying to find. We don't have a lot of that here in South Dakota. We're pretty small.
And no, I get it.
When I had COVID, I did find a functional medicine nurse practitioner. And when I had COVID, I went and got ivermectin and whatever else she gave me. And it worked. My husband thought she was a little odd, which she was a little different, but it worked. Yeah. And I still keep of the ivermectin on my desk, and if I'm in a big crowd or whatever, I'll take one and try to fight stuff off. So
we have a doctor that would prescribe those things online or over the phone, and we don't even talk about the name on the air because doctors like that were being targeted. Okay. So I would not recommend the particular doctor I'm thinking about for this case right now. He was excellent with COVID. He had a great protocol that worked. He was willing to work with people and send out, the drugs, and we just kind of kept it on the quiet side, and we would connect people with them during COVID, and they would get what they needed, and it would work. But so you understand then, and I get it. In South Dakota, you're going to have a tough time. You may have to go out of state even.
Right. Well, if you have any ideas, Kevin, I'd be wonderful to take any advice that you've got, any names you might have. He's a fighter, and
here's the name
that's all I got.
Yeah, here's the name I can give you to at least start with. Now, he's not really close to you, but he's very, very connected in the functional world, and his wife is as well, and he's become a friend of mine, Dr. Wolfson, the cardiologist in Scottsdale. give them a call. They may have some ideas. They deal with a lot of this. They're very familiar with the issues that have been created, and they are definitely tuned into the alternative ways of treating this. So even if it's not them treating it, they may have some ideas and some other connections for you.
I sure appreciate it. Appreciate all the help that we get from Pittsburgh Power. Bruce, you talked to a guy with a 2015 Packard MX-13. Sounds like he's coming in for a tune, and we'll just keep this all going good.
Okay. And Kevin, I got to tell you, I'm wearing 3 of the patches right now. This is my 8th day. Ninth day. On the 8th day yesterday, I didn't wear any, and I felt terrible the whole day because I'm only averaging 3 to 5 hours of deep sleep, and the rest is all dozing. So at first it seemed to help that, and I was thrilled, but my stubborn sleep pattern's back.
Yeah.
But during the day, I'm actually high on life, and I'm looking forward to life, and I'm enjoying my life. Yesterday, I hated my life. I was, if God would have said, your time's up, I'm taking you, I'd have said, be my guest. And so these patches are working for me.
Interesting. So
I've got one of my clients that he had a major surgery, had a big tumor on his shoulder that had been going on for years, and it wasn't cancer or anything, and had it removed. And I said, you need to, I just gave him some. I said, you're going to wear this, and he should still be on painkillers, everything. Hasn't needed any, and he'd only been wearing them for 3 days.
Wow. All right.
Shauna, tell them about you don't use sunscreen now.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce,
for 3 years, I have not used sunscreen one day.
Shauna, Bruce, you know me.
And the sun is good for you.
I'm fish belly white. I always have been. My ancestors are Scottish. That you follow Scotland around the globe and you end up in northern Alaska. That's how far north Scotland is. So I'm as white as you can be. I experienced this as well. Now, mine was just cutting seed oils out of my diet. Once you cut seed oils out of your diet, I don't burn anymore. And I don't use sunscreen. I can stay out in the sun for hours now. I've never been able to do that my whole life. 20 minutes.
Oh,
I would start burning in about 20 minutes if I wasn't protected. I could spend 6-7 hours in and out of the sun all day long, no shirt on. I don't tan a lot. I tan a little bit and it'll fade in a couple days, but I just don't burn anymore, and I don't use sunscreen. It's incredible. That's another big lie. That we just never realized. That was seed oils causing that.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I'll tell you something. You know that Zoom meeting that you didn't come on last week? The lady that was hosting it, she has silver hair like the rest of us. I mean, I don't know how old she is, but her husband's 71. So let's say she's 66. The center of her hair has gone back to dark. And there was another guy from Georgia that's really studied this. He studied it so well, I would have guessed him to have been a chiropractor, but he had a very ill wife, and now she's healthy. But the front of his hair, and he's 2 years older than me, he's 77, his dark hair is coming back. I mean, I got to see this.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have all the data. I just have not had time to go research this. I want to research it and test it myself.
Sure. So
well, I did order.
I'm thrilled with it.
Yeah, I want to try it.
I did order some Cardio Miracle this weekend, so I'm going to start that too and see how that works. My husband's like, you need to get some of that. So
excellent. All right.
Yeah, me too.
All right, you guys have a fabulous day. I'm off to see how this cattle pod is coming. So.
All right, there you go. Thanks for the update, Shauna. We appreciate it. Our prayers are with Scott. Thank you.
Thank you much.
Take care. All right, let's go to Kansas this time. Richard, welcome to the program.
Hey, guys. Bruce, I got a 99 T600 Kenworth. 2000 T600 Kenworth. Got a 99 12.7 Detroit in it, BK model. And the boost gauge that came originally in the truck only goes up to 35. Whenever I'm pulling a hard load at 1600 RPMs, I'm pushing, pegging out at 35 pounds of boost. That's as far as it goes. The scan gauge only goes to 31.5, and I'm wondering if that's the limit that scan gauge is allowing it to go. And is there a boost gauge that goes higher than 35 so I can see what my actual boost is?
No, you got the easiest question of the day. Yes, we have 0 to 50 pound boost gauges. They're very easy to read. They're very accurate. They're made by Hewitt Industries out of California that makes our pyrometers. And it's the best, most accurate boost gauge that I've found in 48 years. And the whole kit, a year or so ago, was $102. I don't know if it's gone up any or not. Eric, do you know?
They're right about the same. They've gone up a couple dollars, but not much.
Okay.
That's on your website?
Yes.
Okay, I will be ordering one today. If it is at 31.5, 1600 RPM, put to the floor, what is the horsepower on that?
516.
Okay.
But you said you're burying a 35 pound gauge.
Yeah, but that gauge is 5 to 6 pounds off because I can be idling, and it's at 5 to 6 pounds of boost.
Okay, so that gauge is bad.
So, yeah.
So,
and that's what's got me thinking. I don't know if it is bad, if it's reading incorrect, even though it is 5 or 6 pounds off above zero. If it's pegging out at 35, is that going to still be off as far as would it be correctly measuring at 31.5?
No.
Okay.
If the boost gauge is sitting at 5 or 6 or 7 psi when the truck's not running, the boost gauge is defective. So does that truck have our program in it?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Do you know what horsepower program we put in? Did we give you 500 to the ground or 580 to the ground?
I think it was because the truck's originally stocked is 500 horsepower, but I don't know if he put it at. I think he done his horsepower at 600. I don't know what the torque is to the ground though.
Okay. All right. So what did you ask for?
600.
600. Okay. You should be around 35 pound of boost.
35. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then I'm gonna go ahead and
get the 50 pound gauge, run it
Uh-huh.
at 1700 up a hill loaded, foot on the floor, and call me and tell me what the boost is.
Is that mechanical? Because my gauge. Okay, so my gauge on the gauge that came in the truck is hooked into the intake on the intake side. So that I just unhooked that hose and hooked your hose to that. I'm assuming.
Correct.
Just plumb everything the same.
8-inch plastic tubing.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for the
Thanks,
call.
sir.
Let's head off to Mississippi. Sam, welcome to the program.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. What can we help you with today?
Well, I remember last week or the week before talking about parts, how we don't carry alternators and starters with us anymore. And I laughed because I agree with that. But I've just run into a situation where I'm on my 4th alternator in 6 months. And they're all having the same failure. It's a bearing failure. I'm just wondering, have the shop there, are you experiencing bad parts like this recently?
No, can't really say that I have. I mean, we do change out starters and alternators periodically, but I haven't seen any of them fail lately.
This is a brand new Delco alternator, and they're all failing from the same problem. It's a bearing failure, and then the shaft freezes up, and then it breaks belts. This is on an old Cat, so it doesn't have a tensioner. It's got a dual belt system that runs my air conditioner as well. And you tighten it up. Go ahead.
Are you making the belts too tight?
That was my question. And the last one we put on, when they first tightened it down, I turned on my air conditioner and my belts were squealing, and I turned it off. We tightened it up a little bit more, and it was fine. So I figured, that's a good tension for it. And that alternator lasted 3 weeks. It just failed yesterday.
Wow.
I'm a little gun shy now, and the company is to the point where they're like, look, it has to be your truck because you've had 3 failures. And I said, how? This is as simple as it gets. I have 2 V belts, and it's a very simple system. I'm just at my wit's end with alternators. I don't know what to do now.
Do you have our damper and balancer on this engine?
No, I don't. It is on my list. The previous owner did put a balancer on it, and or a new, not a balancer, a new damper.
How many miles are on it?
It's due to be changed. It's probably at least 400.
Okay. Yeah, 500 is the cutoff. So.
Yeah.
Huh.
I just want to throw that out there. You guys deal with parts a lot. I've heard in other parts of the industry that there's a lot of bad parts out there, and I've just there's nothing else I can do. I don't know what to do.
I think it's either a bad batch of bearings that they have they're replacing.
That's what I'm thinking.
or like what Bruce was, it's just too tight on the tensioning. You're just wiping the bearing out.
Yeah, I'm down to the point now where I'm testing. I've got a laser heat gun, and I'm putting it on the front bearing to see how hot it's getting. And like right now, it was like 115 degrees. I don't know how hot it should get, but that doesn't sound too bad.
No. Do you know any independent shops that rebuild alternators and starters?
I do. I live in the middle of Texas, and I do. I'm just usually on the road, and I usually just need to get them replaced, and I'm not usually home to do that.
Okay, so what I want you to do is take the next one that fails, take it into him, and let him go through it, brushes and bearings, and then let's see what happens. And ask, you're going to tell him the same story you're telling us and see what he has to say.
Okay, that's good.
All right.
I appreciate that. I do have another question about cooling. I'm just wondering if I'm expecting too much of my truck. Coming out of Arizona, Phoenix, it's 115 degrees, going up 17, some really long hills. It's 100 degrees, and I've got a stack of 3 flatbeds behind me. I'm not super heavy, but I've got some weight, and I can't use all my power. I have to back out of my power and go up the hill at like 20 miles an hour just so I don't overheat. Am I asking too much of my truck? Is that or should I be able to go up that hill with my power? And
well, when it gets over 100 degrees, you can be a gear lower just because of the heat. Is this that gray 379 that we're talking about?
This is a T600 with a
T6.
cap.
Okay. What is it? Is it a factory radiator?
No, I bought your radiator, and I did put new thermostats in it. Yeah, I bought your radiator, and
how many pound of turbo boost does this make?
27 max, and usually going up the hill, I'm around 25.
No, so you're just under 500.
Yeah.
Wow. Get a pressure gauge, and on the right rear of the engine, there's several plugs. Put the pressure gauge in there like an oil pressure gauge, and then take it on up to like 15 or 1600 RPM and see if you have 35 pounds of pressure.
And what kind of pressure is that? What's it checking?
Water pressure.
Water pressure. Okay, so you're looking at the water pump and checking to see if I got good flow. I've had this problem before with an old B model Cat, and it was a plugged up oil cooler, solved everything. But I was just curious. It's like, what's the point of having 1 horsepower if you can't use it?
That's right.
I can go up the hill at 28 miles an hour.
Is your fan half in the shroud and half out?
Yes, I do have my fan shroud. I was running my fan. I was doing everything I knew how to do, running high RPMs, low boost, doing everything I can to keep it cool.
But the fan blade is half in the shroud and half out of the shroud.
I believe so. I'll look and see for sure about that, but I do believe that's where it's at.
Wow. Okay. If you get a cool evening, 60 degrees, what happens?
I'm sorry, sir. What was that?
You get a cool evening, like 60-degree evening, what happens?
I've run these hills in the cool. It seems to make a huge difference. It definitely is sensitive to the hot temperatures.
Well, I just was talking to Mike Lane a couple days ago. He's got the 740 horsepower, 14-liter Detroit in his Western Star, and pulls one of the 4-axle trailers now. And so he's usually up around 106. And he said they've had many days in Utah over 100, and he's down a full gear.
Yeah. Yeah, I was all the way down to, I got a 13 speed, and I was, I guess, all the way down to 5th or 6th gear. I was almost on the low side.
Wow. That shouldn't be. That shouldn't be. Can you get over to our shop? We'd like to take a look at this.
Yeah, I get up there on occasion. You've looked at my truck before.
Okay. Let's get you back in. Let's take a peek at this.
Yeah, my next thing to do is I've heard you do the same, get your 180 thermostat. I was going to try that. But yeah.
What do you have in it now?
Whatever stock is, and I believe it's 190s or something.
Well, all right. So 190, it takes 16 degrees to fully open.
Right.
So you're opening at 206 degrees wide open on the thermostat. And how old are the thermostats? Do you know?
I put them in the same time I put my radiator in, so I think they're 2 years old.
Okay. And make sure your radiator cap's holding pressure. Put some 180 stats in it, and I'd like you to email me some pictures of the radiator, close-up pictures of the rad, the fan shroud.
Okay. Just Pittsburgh
Have
Power.
No, Bruce M. at PittsburghPower.com.
Okay.
And have you verified it with a heat gun? The temperature on the rad versus what the gauge is showing?
No, I have not.
Okay. And you've heard us talk about the auxiliary coolant tank?
I have.
Okay, that might be an answer. If the rad's good, if there's not a problem with this radiator, then you're going to have to go to, and you do the 180 stats and that doesn't fix the problem, we're going to have to go to the auxiliary coolant tank.
Yeah. When I bought your radiator, that was I had the problem. It was even worse. I had to leave at midnight to go through the desert so I wouldn't overheat, and that's when I changed my radiator and my stats. And it's much better than it was. But in extreme use, I still have a problem, and I think there's still a problem I got to fix.
Yeah. I can tell you, I left in my T600 with the big cam in it, the 350 set at 500, and when I pulled out of Las Vegas, it was 113 degrees, and that truck was talking to me. And I overheated on one of those hills coming up towards Salt Lake on 15, and it was brutal. And that's when I really got into working with radiators. So, and I was staring at that temperature gauge. You know, that was one of those low flow disasters that Cummins had.
Oh yeah, great. Anyway, I appreciate it, and I'll see if I can get an appointment up there, and maybe we can figure this thing out.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Thanks for the call. Let's head off to Wyoming. Jackie, welcome.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hey, real quick for that guy with his alternator, has anybody checked the alignment of his alternator belt?
I was
You
thinking
know, my
of
shop
that,
has this
Jackie.
neat little, my shop had this neat little laser tool. When he said laser, I thought that's where he was first going to go, but then he went to the temp gun. But yeah, they had a neat little deal. They'd stick it up when they did my fan belts, and they put it up on top and shot it down to make sure that they were all straight. Maybe that's what it is, and it's just putting enough pressure on that bearing and taking that bearing out. Because, I mean, I used to carry an alternator all the time because I had to change them out every couple of years, but I haven't bought an alternator since 2010.
All right, Jackie, we're looking at an oil sample, right?
Yep.
I'm a little confused. They're actually calling your fuel dilution moderate. I think it's pretty extreme unless they've changed the scale somehow. You're at 6.2. The last one was at 6.5.
Oh, you looked at the wrong one.
How?
You're looking at the wrong one. Should be the top. I got my samples are reversed.
Oh,
I think of where you normally look at them.
There, you're right.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
only
Most recent.
Thank
yeah,
you.
you're at 4.9% over 23,000 miles. It's not that severe.
Right. That
Did
is
you
moderate.
change your charge air cooler lately?
Yes.
Okay.
And what the aluminum is from. What happened was, we caught it at the shop. It just didn't on the way to the shop because, I mean, I always got great fuel mileage and stuff as a courtesy check. And he goes, you talk about how good your fuel mileage was. I didn't figure we needed to. And he put the thing on there, and also we heard air, like, just rushing out, and was like, what the hell? And we go to the other side, and there's a freaking hole right in the charge air cooler. So I was wondering if that's what the aluminum is.
That's your aluminum and potassium. The aluminum or the
And the
particles.
potassium? Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
thank God.
Particles whenever they manufacture it, but potassium is an anti-corrosion spray they put on the aluminum charge air coolers. They put it on all raw aluminum, oxidize. So it's not cold.
Okay.
Your sodium is the same, so you have nothing to worry about.
Okay, thank God, because I was like, oh my God, but I'm not putting any coolant in. What the hell? No.
So,
oh, I was so scared. Okay, but yeah, I figured the aluminum was the charge air cooler. I did not know that about the potassium, though, so that's great.
Yep, that's what tipped me off of asking you that question. Whenever I see those two together, that's the first question I ask is, did you change your charge air cooler recently? And 9 times out of 10, yes.
Yeah, absolutely, because, yeah, we had a big old hole in that damn thing. It was crazy.
Yep.
So, yeah, and then I got a Duralite, and then I find out that Duralites aren't that great no more, but somebody said something about they're only doing like a 2-year warranty. Well, I got my warranty card. It's a 7-year, million-mile warranty, so I don't know what they're talking about, but hopefully it's okay. So, okay, well, on to my next question then, is cruise control. I wasn't here at the beginning because my internet is just trash, so I can't even listen to the show. But I don't know if Leroy's there or if you might know, but my cruise control wasn't working on my last trip. And I have a ProLink, so I'm able to check all my switches and all that stuff. Everything, clutch, the park brake, the foot brake, the throttle position sensor, everything was working The only one that was not working was on my, the one button that I use for set coast, you press it down, and resume accelerate, you press it up. The set coast was not working. Everything else was working. The resume accelerate, the cruise control on and off, everything else was fine, but I couldn't get the cruise control to work, and it would not bump up the idle either. So ended up taking the harness off at the ECM, checked the pins, all the pins on the ECM were good, everything on the harness looked good, ohmed out from the harness up to the switch, everything ohmed out great on every position. So I do know what the answer is, but what do you think the answer was? What was wrong?
The ECM doesn't see a ground when you connect the switch.
Well, no, the ground was good and everything else, but it was actually the ECM. So I have 3 ECMs, so we brought one down and put it on the truck, and everything works fine. So it's something must be internal, which leads to my next question. When I get some time, can I send it to you guys, and do you think you'll be able to find and fix the problem inside that one?
Or myself will look at it. We don't got much going on, so we'd be happy to look at it.
Okay, cool. Because then the other problem is I have 2 trucks that, they're not really identical. They're both Freightliner FLD 120s. They both have Detroit Series 60s, but the rest of them is a little bit different. My old truck has optimized idle. So this is the ECM. This is actually the original ECM for that truck, and we just threw it on here, but I come up with 5 codes all the time, so I'm constantly driving around with the check engine light on. And my guy at the shop, he goes, I can put it on the bench and program it. He says, but I think that will wipe out your tune. So they are, by law, they're required to actually do that, but I've got a good relationship with these guys. I've been going to them for almost 20 years now, and they would not do that to me. So he's like, I'll just leave it. You're just going to have to drive with your check engine light on and see how it goes. But are those 5 codes related to the optimized idle? Because it's like the coolant level and some different things that's showing up, but it was fine on the other ECM, and the coolant level's fine.
Yeah, if one ECM is programmed for optimized idle and the other one is not, you're going to get a few codes. I don't know if it's 5, but I know you'll get at least a few for like the alarm, the lamp code, the lamp is missing, and some other things like this.
Okay. Yeah. So, is that something that if he puts one on his bench to try to turn that off, or what? I mean, he tried to turn it off with the laptop, but that didn't work. Just turning off optimized idle, it didn't change anything. The ECM is still like, no, there's stuff that's missing.
Yeah, most likely it's looking at for the inputs and the outputs. And if you just disable the feature, that doesn't disable the diagnostics for the input circuitry and the output circuitry. Depending on what software he's using, you can disable those inputs and outputs without modifying the tune.
Okay. And if not, is that something that you guys can do via your remote tuners, or is that another thing that would have to be sent in?
Nope, we can do that remotely.
Okay, so that's a good option too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
All right. Perfect. Thanks for the call. Let's head off to South Carolina this time. Terrence, welcome.
What's up, Kev? So I want to let Bruce know there are still some good companies out there with fantastic customer service. So I have my 2021 Dodge 1500, but it's one of those tech stars where they put like the running boards, all that stuff on it, all the body molding. I don't know why I bought it, but anyway. So I was having a problem with my running board since I've had it. Every time I would bring it back to the Dodge dealer, well, we got to get with TechStar. They're not sent. They made more excuses about anything. Finally, I got fed up, so I call this TechStar place up. I get a hold of the regional manager, and he's like, "Yeah, no problem. Just give this girl a call. She'll set you up. We'll send parts up to the Dodge dealer and get it fixed." Well, they did that once, and they used my parts for somebody else, so that was the end of that. Called them back again. So finally, they said, "Bring the truck up here." So I had to bring it to Florence, which was a pain in the ass. But I got it up there. They gave me brand new running boards. Like, the truck's 3 years old already. Brand new, better running boards than the other one. And they noticed one of the moldings on, like the trim was messed up. So they're like, all right, we'll put that on and paint it. But when they did that, when they put the molding back on, it must have like been hanging over a little bit. They didn't check their work too good, and it bent my fender on the pickup truck. So I opened the car door, the passenger door up, and it buckled the fender, popped, big dent. So I call them up, I take pictures. They're like, oh, bring it up here, we got to look at it. I bring it up there, look at it, like, we got to, we got to take it, bring it back. I brought it back there I brought it on the weekend, dropped it off, and they just sent me a picture today. They're ordering me a new fender. Now, mind you, I didn't buy a thing from these people. This was their, the Techstar is like a brand, a pickup truck that they, that their name's on it, and they're standing by it. Again, the truck's got 20-something thousand miles on it, but they're fixing everything. So there are still people out there like you, Bruce. So don't get too discouraged.
Well, that's good. That was just my experience this week.
No, I know, because it's like half the stuff you go to do, or even just talking to people. Like you said, nobody returns your calls. But this place is just like it was a breath of fresh air to have it. Like I said, here I am. I never bought a thing from. Well, technically, I bought their equipment, their product, but just for someone to stand up like that, and 3 years later and just doing it, it was amazing. So, all right, just figured I'd share that with you guys.
Perfect. Thanks
All
for the
right,
call. Let's head off to Pennsylvania. Darren, welcome.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
What's on your mind today?
Hey, I talked to you guys last week about my truck. I had got a boost gauge from you guys, but I hadn't installed it yet. And I do have it installed now. And I called, I think, Pittsburgh Power, I think it was Wednesday, and I'm having trouble. I found a turbo leak that I'm getting a new pipe today. So I think Bruce told me to call back this week and let you know what for boost I'm pushing. I'm the fellow that has like 618 horsepower. So right now, currently the most boost I can push 37, but I think you guys said I'm supposed to be able to push more like 40 to 45. So once I get my hose put on later today, I will call, and maybe next week, and let you guys know, or whenever I'll call you back and let you know. But I have a question for scheduling, as far as getting an overhead done on my truck, like a Hawkeye report and an overhead done on it. Is that something that you need the truck dropped off the evening before if I would schedule it for a day, or what am I looking at for something like that? How much time do you need to do an overhead and then the Hawkeye report?
What engine is this again?
It's a 60 series Detroit 12.7 liter.
Okay.
It's a Coronado glider kit.
Okay. We would need the truck for about a half a day's worth of work, but I need the engine to be cold to set the overhead properly. So you would want to drop it off the night before, but you could definitely pick it up the following day.
Okay. All right. Well, I will. How far about are you looking at scheduling something like that right now?
The little jobs like that, I'm only a couple days out. Like I could possibly get you in the end of this week or next week.
Okay. Well, I will call you guys, and I'll have to look at my schedule and see when I can get it worked in. But I need a long time since I had an overhead done on it. So the other question I had is I sent an email, I think to you, Eric. I think I got the right email. A picture of a 60 series Detroit engine tag. I think I sent it over last evening.
I got it, and I didn't know there was nothing attached to it. It was just a picture of the engine tag.
Do you still have that?
I do. Let me pull it back up here. That one.
So that's my buddy's engine. That's my buddy's engine that I think I'd referenced last week a little bit. I'm trying to get him talked into coming out to your shop for a tune, but we're trying to figure out. It's the one that you guys thought possibly might be a 14 liter, because it's 2005. Anyway, I just took a picture of the tag because I wanted to hear your feedback. Like, if you look at that tag, can you tell by that if it's a 12.7 or a 14 liter?
It really looks like a 12.7. This isn't a rarity, but it isn't. I don't see too many of these because it looks like it was made in December of 2005. So this is an 06 truck, is that right?
Yeah, he pulled it out of an 06 truck and actually put it in a 15 Coronado glider. It had an 05 Cat in it, and he put this Detroit in now. So it has, I think, right around 600,000 original miles on the engine. So it's still pretty low miles. But I was just curious on tuning it. Would you tune that Like, is that a different tune than what my D-Deck 4 would be, or how does that work to tune something like that?
The price is going to be the same. Anything that doesn't have depth, the prices are all the same for the tuning.
Okay. Okay. And then what for power range would you get out of something like that? Would it be similar to mine, or how much power would you expect to see out of that engine?
It'd be pretty much the same. Yeah, this was looks like originally a 455 horse. So we could go either 500 or 600 flywheel tunes. What we usually do on these ones.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna try to sell him one, and I have a whole bunch of your stuff on my engine, and I'm trying to sell him one coming out there because he's not very happy with the power that it has right now. So I just wanted to get your input on it. So maybe I can get you guys another customer. So that's everything I needed for today then. So
thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks
Appreciate
for the call. Let's go to Arkansas this time. Tom, welcome.
Yeah, hey guys. Hey, this is for Bruce. Hey Bruce, Kamala Harris, the reason that she's so light was her dad was from Jamaica and her mom is Indian, and the only African American they've been able to find in her was Willie Brown back in like the 80s.
I got you.
And then right, that's pretty terrible, but true. We were talking yesterday about the guy was talking about called earlier about rental trucks, and so I got towed in on that rental truck to Penske yesterday. They put me in another truck. I backed it up to my trailer. I was pretty heavy on the front end, and the front end sank to the tires, and I'm like, oh my God, so called the guy out there, and he said, well, let's see if it'll build up the air, and well, of course it didn't, so they switched me to another truck that was a little bit better, but not much. So my recommendations to the guy that is looking for a rental truck, just look somewhere else. But the funny thing is, when I was there was a guy that was probably 75 years old, and he was renting a truck, and I said, well, I'm surprised you don't have your own truck. And he said, oh, I have my own truck. He said, it's just easier this way. And he was asking me about the ELD that they have for Penske's. And I said, I didn't know much about it, but I said, well, what kind of truck do you have? He says, well, it's got a 98 Volvo with the Series 60 in it. And I said, oh, well, let me know when you want to sell that thing. And he said, it's for sale now. And he said, $25,000. And I go, $25,000? And he goes, yeah, but listen, I got a new motor in it, and the transmission is only 2 years old. So that makes it a little bit interesting. But what he did say is, I said, what's it got, a 10-speed in it? He says, no, it has a 9-speed. And so does anybody know what kind of 9-speed would be in that thing?
Well,
it may be a convertible. Was this a fleet truck originally? Do you know?
No, I don't think it was.
So
it may have been. I can call them and find out if it was. But it's not one of those freaky or funny Meritors or something you can't get any parts for or something, is it? Do you think?
Well, you'd have to check. My guess is no. I don't even know if we were putting Meritors in a 98, maybe. A lot of the 9-speeds were fleet transmissions that were convertible to a 13-speed for like $400 or $500 back then. It wasn't they were built that way. So the fleet would buy them as a 9-speed. Normally, when they put them on the secondary market, the used market, they would convert them because 13 speeds sell so much better. Those were really common for a long time.
The 9-speed was?
Yeah, the 9-speed convertible to a 13. Fleets bought a lot of those.
Nothing really wrong with the 9-speed, though, is there?
No, not at all. I mean, I had plenty of them back in the 90s.
Okay.
Honestly,
and what do you think about
if
that thing's clean and everything? What do you think about a $25,000 98 truck?
I used to ask people about this with my 9-speeds because, let me try to remember this. Low was all the way over to the seat and back. That was your lowest gear. The shift pattern would tell you to come out of fifth, I guess, over to the right and back. It would show you to come up, over, all the way to the left and up for the next gear. Well, I don't remember why I did it, but if you came up, over all the way to the seat and back into that low spot, it felt more like the next gear or maybe a half a gear. So if you shifted it that way, it really was a 10-speed. I never understood why that worked that way. And I don't know if every 9-speed was like that, but I had several that they didn't show that gear on the pattern, but that gear actually worked.
The gear was there.
It was there, and it felt like a progression from your last gear. But if I remember right, it felt almost like a half a gear.
All right, weird. That's weird. What do you think about? I mean, I imagine he just said he put a $25,000 motor in it. That's why he was asking 25. What do you? Is that something I should even consider?
I would. If that's a clean truck and we have a verifiable in-frame and a 2-year-old transmission, I think it'd be a bargain.
Right. Yeah, and you can just tell people are either honest or not honest most of the time. And he was just a down-to-earth old Arkansas boy.
If that's true that we've got a recent in-frame and a 2-year-old transmission, I think $25,000 is a bargain. But in reality, you're not going to get any more for that, though. I mean, that is a reasonable price, and it will sell at that price, and I'd be interested in it if I was in a market for a truck like that.
Yeah, he says he's got all the paperwork for pretty much everything is done to it. So one of those guys. Okay, very good. I think that's all I had, and thank you guys very much.
All right. Things are pretty quiet today. That was our last call. Anybody have any? Bruce, I know you got to leave in a little bit anyway. Anybody have anything else today?
No.
I do not.
All right. I don't either.
When I bought my T600, it had a 9-speed, and it was in Kansas City. I told them to convert it to a 13, so I never really drove it as a 9. When you drove it, Kevin, it had the single over 18 in it.
Yes.
So
yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's good because I've got to get on to my next appointment, gentlemen.
All right. And I have got a lot going on this week. I've got a CMC today, big product launch tomorrow, a coaching call on Thursday, and then I'm taking off on Friday. So no Friday show today. I'll be gone all next week, and then I'll be gone the following Monday after that. So after this...
So if I want to see you, I have to come to Oregon.
There you go.
No, Washington.
Washington.
Right?
Yeah, I'll be on vacation. I'll be in Washington probably the whole time. You should come out. That would be fun.
I just can't right now. Just a lot of things going on.
We just had another call coming in. Actually, we got a bunch of calls coming in. I guess we'll hang out for a little bit. Let's go to Kansas. Tyler, welcome.
Hey, Kevin. How you doing today?
Good. What can we help you with?
Hey, I just had a question for the guys. I know you guys are trying to wrap things up. I got a C15 Acer that a couple months ago. I had it down. I put a manifold on it. I did go ahead and do the single conversion on it. I had a shop in Missouri go ahead and tune it. Stock injector still. He told me that it was, I think, like a 25, 6 1/4 file, if that sounds right, but I don't know if that's what the truck's making. My question is, I pull a hopper, I'm constantly 80,000, and the truck runs out real good. It's got a lot of power, but I feel like on the low side, I just don't spool up very fast. I feel like if I start on a grade, that it just kind of is falling on its face until you get it wound up. And he had said, I think the paperwork says here, it's a 78 millimeter turbo. And I just was wondering, you know, of course. Go ahead.
Hold
Bruce.
on. What's the number on the turbine housing? Is it a 132 or a 145?
I don't want to lie to you, Bruce. I haven't even looked at it.
Okay. Are you running mostly local?
I'm from St. Louis. I run out to Denver and back down to Kentucky every week on a consistent basis. So I'm on the road.
Cool. Okay. So when it was an ACERT, did it accelerate quicker for you?
Yeah, no. I mean, it had the low side. It did have the low side power, but now I noticed that before the turbo is spooled, it's a dog.
I just have a feeling it's in the tune.
Okay, and I was wondering that, you know, it was a $500 tune, and the kid is well known around us there for being pretty good with those tunes. But I know you guys know your stuff. I just hadn't had a chance to get into Effingham and get it done. So maybe we'll get in there and just pay the money, bite the bullet, and get a Pittsburgh power tune in there, and maybe we'll get it figured out. But that housing, Bruce, what housing would you look to see? What housing would you want on something like this? Is there one better than the other?
I like an engine to run free, so I like the 145. But if you're suffering on the low side, you need to put the 132 on there. And if it has a 78 on the compressor, I have a feeling it's a 132, because when that turbo came out, I mean, that was basically all we had for several years. So I don't think it's in the turbo. I think it's in the tune.
Understood, sir. Okay. I will see about getting over there to I believe it's Heartland Peterbilt there in Effingham's the closest place to me that you guys can do a remote. So I appreciate your time, gentlemen. Love everything you do.
Right.
Have a good rest of your day.
Call me before you do that, okay?
Yes, sir. I can do that.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's head off to North Carolina. Charlie, welcome.
Hello. I can explain that transmission. This is the old part, Bruce. Charlie retired 3 times. Anyway.
Yeah, I know that.
it's okay. It's the same as an 18 or a 13. It is a half a gear. It's the same thing, unless it's an overdrive 9-speed. Then the pattern's a little goofy and reversed.
Okay. So that slot over
Talking
there
about
where,
the 9-speed.
Yeah, so that slot over there where it's low, but then they don't show it as another gear. There really is a gear there, and it's about a half a gear off.
Yeah, it's the same as an 18 or a 13.
Okay.
If you're not quite stopped, then you can pull out in that because it's a half a gear higher than, you know.
Yeah. All right.
It's an in-between gear between 4th and 5th.
Yeah, they were pretty common in the 90s. I had several of them.
Yep, but some of the overdrive ones are really stupid. The lanes were backwards. You went from normal 3rd to normal 5th in a normal transmission, and then went back up to 4th on the high side. It was kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Until you got used to it.
Right. All right.
But anyway.
Well, I appreciate it.
What's that patch you guys are talking about with Bruce? The patch or something Bruce was talking about?
Yeah, Bruce.
Yes.
One of the things I
had him on. I had
clear about, Bruce. This is not.
Charlie, why don't you just
anything
just
negative?
call me?
Yeah, that would be better. And here's why.
Okay.
I want to look at this. I'm interested in it. I'll research it. I'll test it. The problem is I understand the way people listen to the show, and no matter how clear I am about some of this stuff, somebody will hear it differently. I don't like to talk about anything on the show until I know more about it.
That's right.
Okay. I got to order something because I might be doing a tour anyway, so I'll call today.
Perfect. That'll work.
Give me a call. Leave me a message. I have a 2:00 appointment I have to get to, but I'll be available this evening. leave your number with Kathy, and I'll call you tonight.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Texas. Casey, welcome.
Hey, how are you guys today?
Good. What's on your mind?
Can you hear me? Okay. DD15, I got a 2011, but it's pre-def. What can they do for a tune? What would they be able to take it up to, and what can I expect out of a DD15 tune?
Okay. Probably somewhere between, well, I mean, are you looking for a lot of power, something that's balanced, or because
Well,
what I
kind of balanced because I haul heavy loads of hay to Texas every day, and I'd like to have a little more power, and then round bales and stuff, they drag a lot of wind, and I'm happy with the 475 stock, but it's just not quite enough sometimes, kind of feel like I'm impeding traffic a lot, so.
I think if you want something balanced and still safe, we can probably bump it up to somewhere between like a 515 and 600. And then that's probably going to bump up to like 200 foot-pounds.
I had those power module that you had for this. I've went through 2 of them, but they seem like they get hot and then they don't want to work anymore unless you kind of squeeze them together with your fingers. You can't get the light to stay on. I went through 2 of those and I finally just took it off and haven't been running it for a year, but I was thinking about getting more, hardwire tune for it. Might be better in the ECM than using those power modules. But
yeah, the ECMs don't really die very often, so you don't have to squeeze them together.
But I mean, I got like $1,500,000 on this truck now, and I overhauled it at $1,015,000. So I just hated to get rid of one that didn't have def to go to something newer, and plan on keeping it a while. So I thought maybe I'd get to a remote tuner if it would be beneficial.
Yeah, we can do that remotely.
Okay, and then as far as the RPMs, this thing's always been governed at 1650, 1700. Am I missing out on anything by leaving that governor on there? I mean, I put 1,000,000 miles on it.
Not much.
All I can wrap it 1650, so I didn't think I was missing out on much top end power. So
Yeah, we might be able to pick up a few more horsepower by moving the torque curve up a little bit more. But at that point, if you're not really driving up there, it's just to make a pretty number on the dyno.
yeah, already. Yeah, I know on some long hills it'd be nice to go up to 1800 or something, just to keep the momentum. But sometimes it dies off before I hit the hill, and then you're kind of stuck. So.
Well, tune will definitely help that.
Alrighty, I'll look into it. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's go to South Carolina. Nick, welcome to the program. Oh, let me try that again. Didn't work. Nick, there you are.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. You forgot to push the button, Kevin.
Well, I pushed it, but I might have my aim might have been a little off.
Hey, I was talking to Eric a week or so ago about my coolant issue in my truck. He told me to get a little heat laser pointer thing to check it, and it's 40 degrees difference between the top tube and the bottom tube. Am I good there? Or?
40, you said? 40?
40, yes.
Yeah, that's a well-working radiator.
Okay. But I'm still running between I had thermostats put in last winter, and I think he put 190s in there because I'm still running 205 to 210 all the time on flat ground. So
what engine was
should I be? It's at 12.7.
Okay. Thermostat takes about 15 degrees to fully open up. So if you have 190s in there, it's going to take up to 205 before it fully opens up and lets the water flow. We have 180-degree thermostats here that would probably definitely help you out a little bit. How old is the water pump?
How old what?
Your water pump.
It's brand new. I just put it on.
Okay. I would change your thermostats then. You might have a sticky thermostat.
Okay. All right. I'll have you guys do it because I'm coming up there in August, so you guys will take care of some stuff. One quick question. I'm losing coolant. I'm at 30,000 miles. I maybe put a half gallon at the most. But I oil sample all the time that it's not showing up in my oil. Should I be concerned and start chasing that down by using such a small amount of coolant?
It may be the cause of the heating too. If you do have a small fraction in your head gasket and you're just starting to push a little bit of coolant, that can raise the temperatures too. Do you notice any pressure in the cooling system? Like if you leave it sit overnight and go out?
Not at all.
Okay, that's good.
Not at all.
Do you notice any leaks anywhere?
No, I've been chasing leaks on this thing since I've had it. I think I finally got them all, but I can't find anything.
All right. We'll look it over for you. Couple options we have here. One, just to verify there isn't making pressure in the cooling system, is we have a funnel test where the upper rad cap is molded into like an oversized funnel, so we can overfill the cooling system and see if it's making any bubbles right from the driver's seat. So we run the engine with like overfilling the cooling system. If that passes, no problem, then we'll probably just spray the engine off, clean it, dry it, maybe throw some talcum powder around it, run it on the dyno for a little bit, and the talcum powder will act like a tracing powder. So we can make sure that there isn't any leaks anywhere. But it sounds like it may just be a stuck thermostat.
Okay, sounds good. I heard you guys talking about your vibration test. Is that something you do on a dyno or?
Yes, and I'll let Leroy
Okay.
explain how that works.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where your issue's coming from, whether it sounds like it's a front-end issue or just a regular drivetrain issue. Some vibrations tests we can do on the dyno, especially if we think that it's in the driveline or something like that. But if we think it's in the front end, then we have to go for a road test.
Okay, I don't think it's in the front end because I don't feel it on the steering wheel. And it comes and goes. It's really freaking weird. It comes and goes. Some days I'll drive all day, it don't vibrate at all, and all of a sudden it just start vibrating like crazy. And I stop and let it settle down for a little bit, and I take off, and it's fine. So I don't know if it's something to do with the ride height, or I've had the new clutch put in. I've had the drive lines gone through, new U joints. So I'm kind of stumped on this.
Well, we could definitely take a look at it.
Okay, we'll do that. See you guys in a couple weeks.
All right.
Okay, sir.
All right. Thanks
All right.
for the call.
Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome. That's going to wrap it up, Bruce. I know you got to go. I need to go. So we're going to put a lid on it today.
Okay.
All right. We will see you
All
back
right.
here tomorrow for Destination Health. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.